Hey guys, welcome back to another video of GMAT Friday with IMS International. I am Durga Sircar, your verbal mentor, and today we'll be solving a critical reasoning question of hard difficulty level. This question is ranked at a 700 plus score. Now, as always, I want you to pause the video here, take 2 minutes to solve this question and resume to watch the solution. Okay, so let's first have a look at what the argument is trying to say. The government of Farland continues to spend heavily to employ highly skilled attorneys as public prosecutors. Means the government of Farland is spending a lot of money in employing and they pay high wages to its public prosecutors. Now, who are public prosecutors? Public prosecutors are advocates who actually represent the government or who will fight the case from the state's side. Clearly, this spending is unwarranted. Now, what do we mean by unwarranted? Unwarranted means without evidence, unjustified. So, the author is trying to say that this spending is unjustified. In Farland, fewer than 5% of criminal cases are now fought in the courts. So, in Farland, even less than 5% of the total criminal cases are being fought in the courts, and the remaining cases are resolved outside of court through plea bargains. Now, what are plea bargains? Plea bargains are agreements which are there between the prosecutor and the defendant, the party that is guilty. And in exchange for that agreement, the guilty party or the defendant will agree on accepting the guilt, or he may compromise and accept a reduced sentence. So they will have like a out of court settlement. Now, as a result, public prosecutors often go a year or more without having to fight a single case in court. So because of these plea bargains or increasing number of plea bargains, what is happening? Public prosecutors may not even fight a single case throughout the year. So they are basically just ideally sitting in court. That is what the author is trying to say. And thus he feels that this spending by the government of Farland is unwarranted or it is not justified. Now let's have a look at what the question is asking. The question stem says, which of the following, if true, of Farland most seriously weakens the above argument? So this is a weakening question. Now, weakening is the most common type of critical reasoning question that you will encounter on the GMAT. Now, the basic principle in a weakening question is that you have to attack the conclusion or you have to provide additional evidence that would falsify or place a doubt on the conclusion. So, in this particular argument, our conclusion was that the spending on the highly skilled public prosecutors was unwarranted. Means the high amount of money the government was spending on employing these public prosecutors was not justified. So we have to find an option which actually says that this spending is justified. So let's have a look at the options and try to eliminate them one by one. Now what does option A say? The number of non-criminal cases fought in the courts has been increasing in Farland. Okay. Now, what was the argument talking about? The argument was talking about criminal cases. And these public prosecutors were fighting these criminal cases. So, the argument is not talking about non-criminal cases. So, we can safely eliminate option A. Now, let's have a look at option B. Option B says, a plea bargain does not consume as much of a public prosecutor's time as fighting a case in court does. Now, as we had discussed, a plea bargain is like an agreement. So, both the parties, that is the prosecutor and the defendant, would like to come to an agreement as soon as possible. Whereas, if we are actually fighting the case in court, it might take several hearings or several appearances. So definitely a plea bargain would take less time. But But how is this justifying why highly skilled professionals should actually be your prosecutors, or why government should spend money on employing these highly skilled prosecutors? This only tells us that a prosecutor might be able to settle more bargains in a particular amount of time as compared to actually appearing in court for cases. So that means they might not be appearing in court for cases that much. So then why are they being paid highly? So this is again not helping us in understand or not attacking our conclusion as to why their high salaries or the high amount of money spent on them is being justified. Now let's have a look at option C. C says many criminal defendants currently forego waging court battles. Forego means they would let go, or they would actually back out from these court battles which are costly to the government because they are convinced they will lose. Now what is happening here, that there are many defendants, what they'll do is they would settle or they would agree to plea bargains instead of fighting a case because they feel that they are going to lose. Now they will lose from whom? They are fighting against, or they are being you can say they are standing against the public prosecutor. Now this public prosecutor is highly skilled. So if you are standing against somebody who is highly skilled in that department, what would you feel? You would not feel that confident, and you would think that you might lose. So that is why these criminals forego the waging court battles, and this gives us a reason as to why we should employ highly skilled public prosecutors. So we can actually hold on to C option. Let's have a look at the D option. D says the government department that public prosecutors work for is run more efficiently than many other departments. Okay. So that means the public prosecutors department is more efficient in its working as compared to other departments. But does only efficiency justify why they should be paid highly, or why large amounts of money should be spent on employing them? I am not sure whether efficiency can be the only parameter that will justify their high salaries. So we can eliminate D. E says the proportion of criminal cases settled in plea bargains has increased over the last few years. Okay. E is another very attractive option because E is trying to tell us that the number of criminal cases that have settled in plea bargains has increased. Means more and more defendants are going for settlement. That might be the case because the attorneys are highly skilled. Okay. But this again is just stating a fact which we have already read in our argument, that in far land, fewer than 5% of the cases are now being fought in the court and the rest are being resolved outside court. So E does not give us a reason but just reiterates the fact that is already mentioned in the argument, that more and more number of cases are now being settled in plea bargains. So we can eliminate E, although E is a trap option or an option which you may end up marking, but you have to be careful that E does not justify why they have to be paid high salaries or why huge amount of money should be spent on employing them. So you can safely mark C, and C is your correct choice. Okay guys. So congratulations to everybody who marked C as the correct answer. That's it for today. If you like today's video, don't forget to hit the like button. Comment below if you have more such requests and if you want any questions answered. And please subscribe to our channel. Till then, happy studying and all the best.